Hey there, I'm the Madcatster. Am I glad to see you here? Well, you've probably heard about the big scandal around established titles, and you probably think you've heard everything about it, but you haven't, because guess what? They don't even own the land that they're pretending to sell you. So I've got the receipts. I went and got a copy of the actual title to the land that they're purporting to be selling you, and I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to show you. So buckle up and let's go. So I'm here with Sybil and she's making her list and checking it twice. And she wants to know if you're subscribed or not. And she says, please subscribe, please like, and please help the channel. We need to talk about this whole established titles mess where they sell you the fake titles of Lord and Lady for Scotland. And supposedly you buy this little tiny piece of land, and this thing blew up when Scott Shafer posted a video on YouTube about it. And actually they were being called out like a year ago. People were calling them out for this stuff. And so I thought he did a really good job. And then I started looking at this stuff and I thought, well, there's got to be maybe more to the story. So of course, being a lawyer, I was looking for all the legal angles and I found some things that were pretty interesting, including I went and was able to purchase a copy of the actual title of one of the actual tract of land that they're purporting to sell pieces of and giving these titles out, which are totally fake. And I can say that without even saying allegedly because they are fake. Established Titles doesn't own the land. A brief amount of background. I'm not going to delve into a whole lot because a lot of it's been covered already on the internet. So basically, there are several of these companies out there that pretend to sell you bits of land in Scotland. They say that you get a title with it of Lord and Lady, which is absolutely not true. And Scott Shafer covered some of that. Established Titles pretends to sell you a piece of land. Okay, and I say pretends because you're really just buying the paper certificate. Scotland's law says that these souvenir pieces of land, they're not recognizable enough to be registered. You know, like when you go and register your deed to your house, which shows and proves you own that land, you're not really buying a piece of land because without a title, you don't own it and cannot be registered. Basically, the Scottish government said, no, they're not really plots of land. So they may tell you you're buying it, but in truth, you don't have any claim of ownership on it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is they claim at established titles that there's a tradition in Scotland when you buy land, you style yourself Lord or Lady. Well, that is absolutely not true. Lord or Lady, those are titles that are either hereditary, granted by the monarch, or maybe some other means of obtaining them like through marriage. But you cannot call yourself Lord or Lady. And one of the things that really bothered me was I saw some of the promotion that the influencers on YouTube were doing when they were hawking this stuff. And one of the things they were telling you was you can get Lord or Lady on your passport and your driver's license. And they show like the driver's license of some guy and it says Lord on it. No, you can't. Okay. In the United States, first of all, we don't legally recognize titles of nobility. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you can't just go say, I'm Lord so-and-so, put it on my license, or here's my fake certificate saying I am. You would have to legally change your name. I saw one of the contracts, an actual contract for the deals they were making. They were paying a lot of money per video for people to promote this stuff. So I'm sure they were making a fortune to be able to pay out like that. So the next bit of controversy involves this alleged company Established Titles. Now, I have searched and I have looked and I cannot find anywhere that there's any such company as Established Titles. That's a fictitious name, and if they're doing any kind of business in the UK and they allege to have an address in the UK, they're supposed to be registered with the British government, and they are not registered with the British government under Established Titles or anything similar. I found other title companies that sell the same kind of thing listed, but not them. Both of the principal people involved in this are involved in a number of companies together. Okay, so here's one company. So they've got this established title thing, which like I said, I can't find it's a real company. And then they've got another company called Trifecta Retail Ventures. Okay, that company has a number of directors. The first being this guy, Jarl William Ben Wolfram, and he's Finnish, and he goes by William Wolfram on some of this stuff. Then there's Katarina Yip, and her actual name is Katarina Shiwei Yip. And contrary to some misconceptions, because yes, these companies are based in Hong Kong, she's actually American. She was born in the United States. She grew up in Singapore, and she went to school in England. So she's not Chinese. She's actually American, okay? And she apparently an undergraduate degree and a law degree in England. Trifecta Retail Ventures, they have some, in my opinion, are dodgy businesses, but that's not the only company they're involved in. Now I'm going to show you this. They're also involved in a company called Fail Ventures, which why anyone would want to be called Fail Ventures, I don't know, but true to its name, they've failed a lot of times with some of the startups they've tried to do. And you'll see here again, both William Wolfram and Katarina Yip are both involved in Fail Ventures. Then there's a third company they're both involved in, and it's called Galton Voicey. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that exactly right, but it's based in Hong Kong. It's got a bunch of online retail type businesses. So I looked at these three companies and I was like, well, which one of these is behind this established titles? And it's really not clear. I know Scott Shafer showed the established titles logo being shown on the Fail Ventures, but you'll see in a second, they don't really own that company. I don't know, maybe it got its start there. It's not owned by them, okay? And it's not owned by Trifecta Retail Ventures. And also, you'll see here that Katarina Yip actually owns or runs an online like real estate business. It looks like there's only like 4 pieces of land for sale, and guess what? They're all in Scotland. So that's probably where this all got started. So then I said, well, how do we find out who actually is the owner of this established titles venture? So from their website, I went and they show the places where the land is located, and they've got several parcels that they own in Scotland. So they're allegedly selling bits of each of these. It was either 4 or 5 parcels. So I said, well, can I find out who owns this land for real? So I started looking at the parcels that they show, and you can see some examples here. And I picked this particular one. It's in Dunfermline in Scotland. So I looked up Dunfermline. I found Dunfermline. So then I pulled it up on Google Maps, and I was able to find this general area where this plot of land is, and this road B913 you can see here. And so I said, well, okay, let me go to the Scottish Land Registry and see if I can figure out what the actual plot of land, what its like registration is, and then see if there's some way I can look it up. So I went to the Scottish Land Registry, and so I started searching by the town. Dunfermline actually there's like a number of villages around there. So it's actually in this, technically this village called Saline. I don't know if it's pronounced differently in Scotland, but it's spelled Saline. So I'm going to say, so it's like Dunfermline, and then this little village of Saline that's located in part of Dunfermline. So then I looked and I found the road, the B913, and then I looked a little bit further up the road and I found the crossroad. And so I was on the Scottish Land Registry. I found the town of Dunfermline, and I found the road, and I found the postcode, and I searched by postcode. And then I was able to pull up a tract map, which has like all different parcels delineated on it. And so I was able to match up this parcel with the parcel on the land registry's map, and I was able to precisely locate which parcel of land it is. And I found a surprise, and I'm going to put up the actual title here. I've redacted some information, but I had to pay. I paid £3, I think it was, to download. Here I'm going to show you the actual title. And this is the title page, and then you go to the second section, A property, and it's owned outright, and it's 6.5 hectares, which I'll have to do the math, but it's however many acres that is. 6.5 hectares, and it is in Saline, Dunfermline, like I said, and it's woodland. It's called woodland in here, and it's tinted pink on the cadastral map, it says. So what that indicates to me is that it's probably not developable land. So on their website for established titles, they make this claim about you're going to protect Scottish woodlands and etc. Well, not really, because it's already protected. They couldn't develop it even if they wanted to. If somebody else had bought it, they couldn't have developed it either. So it's already protected. So you're not protecting it any more than it was already protected. Then you go to the ownership information, and surprise, it's owned by Galton Voicey Limited, which is the company that Katarina Yip and William Wolfram are both involved in. So now we have our answer. Galton Voicey Limited is the owner of the land. And because, like I said, I couldn't find any such legal corporation called Established Titles, Established Titles doesn't even own the land they're pretending to sell you. So not only are you not buying a piece of land, but the people selling you the piece of land don't have any right to sell it to you. And in actuality, the title holder is Galton Boise. They're the ones who have the legal right to sell the land, even though they're not really selling it. So you should be buying the land from Galton Boise, not from Established Titles. So, and like I said, it could be a DBA name. I don't know, but I can't find anything that indicates to me, other than what's on the internet, I can't find any legal references that show me that Established Titles is a real company. So I thought that was pretty interesting that Galton Boise is behind this venture. They're using a fake name. They're selling you fake land and fake titles. And it just seemed so appropriate to me that everything about this is fake. Okay, so Galton Boise is the owner. Miss Yip did not have some grand vision, in my opinion, of how she was going to protect the woodlands of Scotland, because the land that they bought is already protected. I also looked just to look at every angle on the website for Established Titles. They give a supposed address for the company, and this is what the address says. They have an address here of Lessendrum, Huntly, Scotland. Maybe the company's going by some variation of Established Titles, or maybe some other name. So I went on to the UK's corporation's website, and believe it or not, you can search by town. So I said, well, okay, so let's put the town in. So I put the town in. There's only one company registered in that town, and it's a petroleum company. So I know it has nothing to do with Established Titles. So that address is just as fake as everything else. There's no physical building. It's not a mailing address, so it's fake. So that also is fake. Laird is not actually a title of nobility. It refers to like the owner of a large estate. So none of these fractional bits, even if they were actual registered land, entitles you to call yourself Laird. So just for shits and giggles, I said, well, this parcel of land I'm investigating, what if you did want to be a Laird? And so I found this. You might be interested. It's a detached house for sale in Saline Dunfermline, and it's a big house. It's got 7 bedrooms. It's on 14 acres. So it sounds to me like you probably could call yourself a Laird with this one, but you're going to have to fork out offers in excess of 1.2 million pounds. It's a little bit more than that, what, $50 that you're spending for that little fractional land if you really want to call yourself a Laird. So one of the other things I asked myself was, okay, now they give you like a plot number on your certificate, and I looked on their website to see how you can like possibly verify. So in order for them to tell you exactly where your quote unquote land is, you have to enter your parcel number, but you also have to put in your email address. So I thought to myself, well, if it's like geolocated or it's located by GPS, what does your email address matter? You should just be able to put in the number of your plot and it'll give you the coordinates, right? But what I started thinking was, you know, this is a finite piece of land. These are finite pieces of land. If they keep selling these, how do you know they're not selling the same parcel number over and over again? You know, they're going to run out at some point, right? And the fact that you don't legally own it, you don't have title to it, they can do whatever they want. So they could sell it 5 times. 5 people could have the same plot number on their certificate. And the way they differentiate it is when you put the plot number plus your email address, it differentiates which buyer is inquiring before it gives you the coordinates. So that just seems a little shady to me too, that the way for them to tell you where your land is, you have to also give them your email address. Otherwise, they can't locate it. That doesn't make any sense. So the other big part of this and the way that they sell this is they say, oh, you're helping plant trees. Okay, that's a good thing, right? And everybody who's buying this is thinking, oh, we're planting trees. And I checked, and some people called into question, I think Scott Shafer did too, whether they were actually planting trees and what the proof was. So I went on to one of the charity's websites, and in fact, they do show over 2 million trees being planted by Established Titles. Now, the interesting thing is, because I said I don't think Established Titles is an actual company, on the social media for Galton Boise, I think it was on Twitter, I'll put it up here, they talk about and they show a screenshot of how many trees they planted. And this was like over a year ago. So I think it's Galton Boise who's actually making the donations. It's not Established Titles, because Established Titles, like I said, I don't think is a real company. So it's actually Galton Voicey planting the trees. But this is what was a kicker to me, because one of the tree charities, I went onto their site, and it's called One Tree Planted, and they do have some doings in the UK. Both of these companies, a lot of the plantings are not in Scotland. So, even though they might plant some in Scotland, you're not helping to reforest Scotland, because these trees are planted all over the world. But the interesting thing is, on One Tree Planted, the cost to plant a tree is $1. So they're saying on the website for established titles that they're planting a tree for every certificate they sell. Well, if it's selling for about $50, so they're planting a tree for $1 and then they're pocketing $49. I mean, what's their overhead? This is all done virtually. It would be the cost of the paper certificate, and you probably have to pay postage. I didn't buy one, so I don't know, but I'm assuming you have to pay postage. So it's just the cost of the certificate. So what is that? 50 cents, if that, 25 cents to print that out? So they're making this enormous profit. Most of it is going into their pocket. $1 of it's going to plant a tree. And they're making it sound like they're these big environmentalists. And in fact, you can see here's a press release they put out back in 2020 that says, Established Titles signs the UK Woodland Trust Charter, planning to plant 35 million trees by 2050. So they're going to plant 35 million trees by 2050? So they're planning, I guess, on this thing going that long. And this is, just so you know, Business Wire, this is a press release they put out. So this isn't like coming from an independent third party, and they're listing Huntly, Scotland on the press release as where it's coming from. And we know there is no business location in Huntly, Scotland. We know that there's probably not a company called Established Titles. So again, more fake press, and they're trying to pump it up by saying, oh, look, we're going to plant all these trees. Yeah, in 30 years, you're going to plant those trees? So that's a lot of certificates they're planning on selling between now and 2050. Now, the pièce de la résistance was, there's another company who is one of their competitors. It's called Highland Titles. And even they are calling Established Titles a scam. And now look at what they had to say on their website about Established Titles. They say, what we know about Established Titles, and this is updated in March of 2022, and it says, Established Titles traded for at least 7 months between April 2020 and November 2020 from a website with no company name. Their website has now been updated and states the company behind the website is Galton Voicey Limited. And that's changed again, because I don't see Galton Voicey listed on there at all. It just says Established Titles now with that address in Huntly, Scotland. It says their Trustpilot reviews are revealing. Whilst you're looking at their Trustpilot review, have a giggle at their contact address on there. It's listed as Dumfries, United Kingdom. It says Dumfries is a town of some 32,000 people. You have to wonder whether they don't want to be found or contacted. Well, we know they've changed that address. That's the address that's listed on Trustpilot. But then on the next line, it says the only address on their website is Lessendrum, Huntly, Scotland. This would appear to be an area of land from which they purport to sell their souvenir plots. It doesn't appear to be the postal address of a building to which post can be delivered, and therefore cannot be the registered address of any company. Exactly. And then they say the only named person on the website is Katarina Yip. So there's a page on there where they talk about how they use cutesy old English to make it, sound more legitimate, when they talk about how she was so enamored with Scotland that she decided to do something to save the woodlands of Scotland. So yeah, that's a load of crap. And then down below, they say they've been promoting an 80% discount sale on their website for over a year now. And it's true. It still says 80, and they have a little timer on there making it look like it's going to run out. Well, the timer obviously is an infinite timer because it's never going to run out. It says it seems like they're only pretending to have a presence in Scotland. There's no way of telling if they've ever even visited the country. Well, they probably have, because we know that Katarina Yip was educated in the United Kingdom, so she's probably been to Scotland. Okay, they must have gone to Scotland because they bought that piece of land. So now on this next thing, this is where they try to tell you why they're legitimate and Established Titles is not. And they say, we've been trading openly and honestly for 16 years. We meet thousands of our customers face to face every year at our nature reserve. We trade with the advice of our Scottish solicitors. We uniquely identify each and every souvenir plot that we sell with latitude, longitude, and OS coordinates. So They give you like literally all the coordinates, specifically where your plot is, and I bet you don't have to give them your email address for them to figure it out. Sounds like they put it right on their certificates is what I'm assuming, so that's a big difference. And they said their nature reserve has hundreds of 5-star reviews. They have an average score of 9.6 out of 10 on the independent review site Trustpilot with more than 14,000 reviews. And our conservation efforts in Scotland are substantial, and they have a video about it. So they actually have a nature preserve. You can actually go visit where your land is. They give you the actual coordinates up front so you know where it is. And even though I still think the premise is ridiculous because you're not really buying a piece of land, you have no title to it. It's a souvenir plot. These people are pretty transparent. I looked at their website and, you know, they even go in to tell you, you're not a lord or lady. You're not even a laird. And they explain why. And they explain, you know, what I was telling you about what the legal ways that you get those titles are. And so they're very transparent. They make it clear this is a souvenir. Here's where your souvenir piece of land is located. So if you want to go to the preserve where your land is, you can go visit. It's actually a site you can go see. And it sounds like it's actually like open to the public. So at least they're transparent and they make it very clear you're not really buying anything. You're helping support their preserve. So that's my addition to the information that you may have heard. We know the land is actually legally owned by Galton Voicey. It doesn't look like Established Titles is even a real company. They certainly don't have their name on the title to the land that they're purporting to sell you pieces of. And we know that everything is fake. And even though they do mention that it's a novelty in their information on their website, it's still kind of deceptive. You know, they're trying to make you think you're helping the environment when really only if we go by the tree nonprofits. And please don't send any hate to the tree people because they're actually legitimate charities. I actually pulled their tax returns and things from the IRS. So those people are legitimate 501c3 nonprofits. They really do plant trees around the world. So they have nothing to do with this whole mess. So please leave them out of it. From what one of their websites says, it costs $1 to plant a tree and you're paying like $50 for a certificate. So I'm glad they're planting some trees, but really $1 out of the 50 is going towards that. The whole thing to me is it's just really kind of cringy. And I'm certainly not going to be buying anything from Established Titles. I've given you the facts. Scott Shafer's giving you the facts. There are other facts out there. That's my take on it. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Thank you to all of our supporters, our Patreon patrons who help with the vet bills and the channel members who help offset expenses for the cats too. And those of you who send stuff from the Amazon wish list, that's down below. It's all stuff for the cats. We thank you. We love you so much. I hope you guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.